Water, the quintessential source of our everyday needs: drinking, bathing, cleaning. Making sure that the water in St. Martin Parish, Iberia Parish, Lafayette Parish, and Vermilion Parish is safe and clean to use is a group effort. One of those groups who leads the way is the Teche Vermilion Freshwater District. This video will give you a clear view on the role the district plays in keeping our water clean and eco-friendly for generations to come.
The Mississippi River watershed drains 40% of the continental United States. This includes 31 states and even parts of Canada. All of this water drains through Louisiana, which leaves us subject to extensive flooding. That was the case in 1927 when we had the Great Flood. It caused extensive damage in South Louisiana. Homes were flooded, crops were destroyed, even lives were lost. The Great Flood of 1927 was the catalyst which caused the U.S. Congress to implement the Mississippi River and Tributaries Project. Following the 1927 flood, the U.S. government built protection levees, like the one you see behind me. The installation of the protection levee cut off the natural flow of water between the Atchafalaya River and the Teche Vermilion Basin. This water was very important, flowing through the area because it prevented stagnation, it prevented pollution, it provided water for irrigation as well as navigation. In addition, the flow of fresh water protects our groundwater aquifer from saltwater intrusion, assuring us clean drinking water for future generations. Over the next 40 years, water in the Teche Vermilion Basin became stagnant, polluted. Saltwater intrusion became a problem. The Vermilion River was even listed as being one of the most polluted rivers in the United States. The Louisiana Department of Public Works identified these problems in a study that they conducted in 1956. This prompted the parishes of the district to lobby Congress to do something to improve conditions in the area. The solution to the problem, as pointed out in the Department of Public Works study, was to reestablish the flow of fresh water through the Teche Vermilion Basin. Congress authorized construction of the Teche Vermilion project in the Flood Control Act of 1966. The federal government provided funding as well as expertise from the Army Corps of Engineers to complete the $40 million project. In return for constructing the project, the federal government required that a local district be created to further maintain and operate the project. The Teche Vermilion Freshwater District was created and consists of 4 parishes: Lafayette, St. Martin, Iberia, and Vermilion. Our role as the district was to take over operation and maintenance responsibilities of the project without further federal government assistance. The governing authority of Lafayette, St. Martin, Iberia, and Vermilion parishes each appoint a member to represent them on the Board of Commissioners of the district. Many of the features of the project flow through St. Landry Parish. Therefore, they appoint an advisory member to the Board of Commissioners. The first meeting of the Board of Commissioners was held on August 25, 1969. The charter members appointed from each parish were Paul Begnaud from Lafayette Parish, Carol Fusilier from St. Martin Parish, Dr. Harold Travassos from Vermilion Parish, and Ernest Fuquay Sr. from Iberia Parish, and they appointed Ray Brignac as their first executive director. This is the pumping station, which is the centerpiece of our project. Construction was started in 1976. The pumping station recreates the natural flow of fresh water from the Atchafalaya River to the Teche Vermilion Basin. The pumping station is located 2 miles north of Krotz Springs, Louisiana, on the Atchafalaya River. The main function of the pumping station is to move water from the Atchafalaya River into Bayou Catawba, which recreates the original natural flow of fresh water. Inside the multi-million-dollar facility are 5 pumps, which are driven by 1,500 horsepower electric motors. Each pump is capable of delivering 260 cubic feet per second of fresh water. The capacity of the system is when 4 pumps are running. The 5th pump is for reserve purposes. To give you an idea of the amount of water that the pump station puts out, It could fill the Superdome from floor to ceiling in just over 24 hours. The process begins by getting fresh water from the Atchafalaya River to the pumping station. This is done through the 1,200-foot-long inlet channel. Every 3 to 4 years, the inlet channel requires maintenance and dredging at a cost of several $100,000. From the pumping station, water is discharged into a 6-mile-long levied conveyance channel which carries the flow across the western side of the Atchafalaya Basin floodway to the West Protection Levee. Within the floodway, several structures were constructed to accomplish passage. One is a 12 by 13 foot inverted siphon which carries the water under the State Canal. Where the conveyance channel meets the West Atchafalaya Basin Protection Levee, a gated structure known as the Conveyance Channel Control Structure has two 10 by 10 foot openings that pass water through the levee into Bayou Catawba. From Bayou Catawba, the additional freshwater supply from the Atchafalaya River is distributed to various points downstream. At this point, the historic freshwater flow has been recreated. 90% of the flow passes naturally into Bayou Teche. The remaining 10% passes through a 54-inch gated culvert into the West Atchafalaya Basin Protection Levee borrow pit to flush out that channel. Flow in the borrow pit continues on to Bayou Ami, Catahoula Lake, Lake Dautrive, Lake Fossey Point, and eventually into the Gulf of Mexico. The freshwater going into Bayou Teche is shared with the Vermilion River at 2 points. The upstream diversion location is via Bayou Fusilier, where part of the additional flows are diverted through the Bayou Fusilier weir from Bayou Teche to Vermilion River. Further downstream, additional amounts of the flow is diverted to the Vermilion River via the Ruth Canal, originally constructed by local interest and obtained by the district as part of the Teche Vermilion project. South of Ruth Canal is a sector-gated navigable control structure in the Lauraville Canal, which links Bayou Teche with Lake Fossey Point near New Iberia. The 56-foot wide structure prevents the additional fresh water from flowing into the lake and bypassing the lower reaches of Bayou Teche. The structure has a sill elevation of minus 9.8 feet to allow passage of navigation. As water flows through Bayou Teche, Bayou Ami, and the Vermilion River, it reduces stagnation and pollution, benefits agriculture, and protects our groundwater. Now that we have seen how all the elements of the project work together, it should be noted that the pumps do not need to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or even 365 days a year. There are certain indicators that tell us when to run the pumps, which were established by the Corps of Engineers during the design of the project. These indicators are based on the elevation of water in Bayou Catawba at different times of the year. This elevation is physically monitored by pumping station personnel daily. As we maintain the water level in Bayou Catawba, water distribution within the district is based on local needs. This distribution can be regulated by the Ruth Canal structure. So what are the benefits for those who live and work in the Teche Vermilion Freshwater District?
Well, we build aluminum crew boats that work out across the world. And we've been in business for 32 years now. We have 75 employees, and we serve a huge purpose, I guess, for the oil industry and for the community. Well, we have 6 boats under construction at one time. In the last few years, we've been able to deliver 3 boats a year. And it's not only just about us, it's what it does. The people, our customers who we're so fortunate to have and buy these boats from us, they bring money into this community. They bring money to our local businesses, our local restaurants, all the employees who work here, their families. So, but 3 boats a year, but it's everything else that comes along with it that makes such a big difference in this local community and the state, throughout the state. Well, without the help of Teche Vermilion, it would make things a lot more difficult, to the point where we might even have to make a multi-million-dollar investment on a travel lift or different type of equipment for the launching purposes of it. Then you go into the other part of it of trying to get the boat from here to Morgan City and then the Fouchon, wherever the boat's going. And again, without the help of Teche Vermilion raising the level of the water in the bayou, you're looking at damaging the props on the boat or rudders and stuff like that. So they serve a huge purpose for us in helping us to be able to build this product and get it to our customer, into the Gulf of Mexico. Make a phone call, you can go look at the buyer the next day and you see the water level coming up. And they also will call back to give me a courtesy call to check and see how things went. Just incredible people to work with, and we appreciate everything they do for us.
When I started with DEQ in 1988, I was stationed here in Lafayette, and doing inspections and pollution complaints was my primary job. Pollution complaints included fish kills, anonymous discharges into the river, that sort of thing. Back then the river was, at the very least, it was quite polluted. We were having a problem with a lot of unpermitted discharges to the river. Fecal coliform bacteria. We did a lot of fish sampling. In fact, fish kills were commonplace in the river back then. We don't see a lot of that today. Everyone is now very environmental conscious, or at least most people are. We've gotten a very good handle, DEQ and EPA has gotten a very good handle on direct discharges to the river. Modern technology has improved sewer treatment plants. You don't see a lot of the tetraethyl death, is what we used to call it, being discharged to the river. Plus the increased flow from the diversion project has really improved the water quality on Vermilion and Bayou Teche. The increased flow, increased movement of water helps oxygenate water. As a lot of people know and a lot of more people don't know, cooler water holds oxygen much better than warm water. And the increased flow tends to let the waters stay a little cooler than if they were stagnant and non-moving. The other thing is when you do get an area of low oxygenated water, it doesn't just stay in one spot and kill aquatic life. It actually gets moved on down, and it pretty well gets mixed into the surrounding waters, and you just don't see the fish kills that we used to anymore.
Would not have Teche Vermilion, it would be really serious with our farmers here, because before Teche Vermilion was there and before we had the locks, this salt was really bad in here. But right now with Teche Vermilion present, with sending all the water, it's perfect. It keeps them from, they don't have to pump with the water wells and everything else. They can pump out the canal because it's always fresh water. Teche Vermilion sends a lot of water down the river when we need it, because when I go to the bank of locks and check the locks, and then the water's good, I can let it in, or we'll go to intercoastal and we'll check to see how much salt they have in the water. And if the water's salty, we send even more down from Teche Vermilion, and it's perfect. That's what keeps the salt water out all these people's fields and stuff.
As regulatory compliance supervisor, I supervise a team that takes care of Lafayette Consolidated Government's responsibility for both state and federal environmental regulations. That can include Corps of Engineers permits, underground storage tanks, we deal with hazardous chemicals, we have a closed landfill, but one of those duties is also that we manage the municipal separate storm sewer system discharge permit that Lafayette Consolidated Government has, which means that we are really paying close attention on what is discharging from our stormwater channels into the Vermilion River. Since we are paying attention to what's entering the Vermilion through our storm drain systems, that's one less thing we have to worry about, the fact that the water that's coming in from the north that's being pumped is fresh, good water, that it is not polluted. We don't have to worry about as much about what's coming in from there, so we can focus more on what's coming in from Lafayette and our stormwater runoff. Ever since the water quality has gotten so much better due to the water that's being pumped in, there has been, I think, a surge in water activity. You can see people really, the boat landings that are there, we've added more boat landings so that people do have more access to get out there. There's more fishing, a more variety of fish. I think that people previously didn't even really know about the Bayou Vermilion a lot. It was something that was kind of hidden. But since this really good increase in the water quality that's going in there, people have started realizing, oh, we have this really important water body that's running through our town that we can take advantage of and really start having some good recreation out there. And I think that's really increased a lot in the past few years.
Lafayette Consolidated Government, we operate 4 wastewater treatment facilities that has a combined capacity of 18.5 million gallons a day that we can treat. On an average daily flow, we generally treat 14 to 15 million gallons a day at these 4 treatment facilities. We have to have a place to discharge, and that is the Vermilion River. The biggest thing about these treatment plants is DEQ and EPA have set discharge limitations on how much organic pollutants we can discharge into the river. And ours are very low. We have what we call a 10 parts per million of BOD, 15 parts per million of TSS, and 5 parts per million of ammonia that we can discharge to the river during the summer months. In the winter months, they're a little bit higher, but not much more. Large treatment plants on the Mississippi River might have a 30-30 discharge with no ammonia, because it all depends on the volume of the water that the river is carrying. The more water the river carries, the better our effluent limits are that we can discharge, the more industries we can bring into the community, and everything goes well. Economically, if I had to discharge, if the water was not flowing very fast down the particular river, I would have to go to tertiary treatment techniques. And that is, I'd have to put in special filters, special anthracite coal filters, filtering devices, turbidity monitors. I would have to have gotten the water basically to drinking water quality. And that would have cost the citizens of Lafayette tens of millions of dollars in order to accomplish this.
Well, Tour de Teche is an organization that we started 7 years ago. And Tour de Teche actually puts on 11 races on Bayou Teche throughout the year. The biggest race that we do is what's called Tour de Teche 135. That's 135 miles from Port Barre to Berwick. There are several reasons that we do Tour de Teche. One is to bring awareness to the bayou, that we have a great jewel of a waterway here in South Louisiana. But one of the main things is the economic engine that this race has created. We'll have 150 plus paddlers come in for this race from all over the United States and some from foreign countries. They'll come and race Tour de Teche. Just about every day during the spring, summer, and fall, I live on the Teche, and I see boats coming up and down the Teche, paddlers. Today, almost every day, you'll see people from all over the world paddling the Teche. So it's just been a great economic boost, I think, for the whole area. One of the things that has made all of this possible is the pumping station up at Krotz Springs. Because of the pumping station, we have a constant water level, except when it rains, the water goes high, but the water never gets below a certain level. So we always have enough water for these paddlers to come and enjoy the Teche. I can't say that for some of the races in Texas and Mississippi and other areas where some of the rivers are running out of water. We are so lucky here to have this water, constant water flow. You know, as long as there's water in the Mississippi and the Chapelhour River, we'll have water in the Teche thanks to the pumping station. So what can I say? It's helping us to help our community. Tour de Teche we're going to be our 6th racing season this year. We're adding another race to bring even larger boats down the Teche, the big 6-man teams. We're starting the race up in Shreveport, September 27th of this year, 2015. We'll come down the Red River, Chapelhour River, get into Bayou Catawba, and Bayou Teche, all the way from Port Barrow to Berwick. So I've already got teams signing up from South Carolina, from Texas, Illinois. So we're really excited about the addition of the what we're calling the 410 de Louisiane. 410 miles paddling from Shreveport to Berwick. And Bayou Teche, of course, is the jewel in the race. What can I say?
Well, the Bayou Vermilion District was founded in 1984. It's a taxpayer-funded operation of in Lafayette Parish in order to clean up and restore the Bayou Vermilion. At that time, in the early 80s, the Bayou Vermilion was considered one of the most polluted waterways in all of the United States. And since that time, we've made great strides cleaning up the bayou, restoring the banks, making it much more user-friendly, and in cleaning up the environment also, which was in desperate need at that time. And since that time, we've put in boat launches, canoe launches. We've offered more recreational opportunities, improving fish habitats, and we want to continue in that vein. Thanks to the Teche Vermilion Freshwater District, which of course is pumping water into the Vermilion. If it were not for those pumps north of Krotz Springs, this would be a dry creek basically, and basically an open cesspool. Also, the water has to continue flowing in order to keep it as a healthy watershed, and the Teche Vermilion Freshwater District does that for us. And having a clean waterway, of course, encourages people to have more recreational opportunities. Kayaking and canoeing, like I said, is very popular, and we hope to use that to attract more of the younger people, who are in more of the IT professions, oil field professions, and whatnot that we have in this area. But the younger people want to have more outdoor opportunities. And they won't have to go, very far in order to do that. They can do that right here in their own backyard, literally, in Lafayette, by keeping the bayou clean. We also pull a lot of trash out of the bayou. We put booms across many of the mouths of the coulees and ditches that flow into the bayou, trying to catch much of the trash that goes into the bayou. A lot of small items, aluminum cans, plastic bottles, things of that nature. And we pull out, last year we pulled out 1,255-gallon drums of trash pull out the bayou. Our crews go out there just about every day and pick them out one by one with these little hand pickers. We also pulled out over 200 used tires, and you name it, we've pulled it out of the bayou. Flat screen TVs, sofas, hot water heaters, cars, dead livestock, live livestock, everything that, like I said, everything flows into the bayou, and eventually anything that you leave out in your yard, if it rains hard enough, it will go into a ditch, it will go into a coulee, and it'll end up in the bayou, and we have to pull it out in order to keep the bayou as healthy as possible. And part of our mission is economic development. The Vermilionville, the historical museum, the Living Life museum we have here, which talks about life in Acadiana, in the southwest part of Louisiana between 1765 and 1890, to talk about our traditions. We have a very long tradition of outdoorsmen, planting our own gardens, making our own clothes, a lot of do-it-yourself mentality, which is something that goes way, way back. And a lot of the young people, of course, are bringing that back, doing their own boucheries, doing their own cooking, bringing back some of the old recipes, and really enjoying life the way we used to back in the old days, but making it new again. So here at Vermilionville and through the Bayou Vermilion District, we're preserving that way of life that so many people find so appealing. And of course, the bayou plays such a large part of that. And thanks to our efforts and the efforts of the Teche Vermilion Freshwater District, we can keep the bayou clean and healthy for generations to come.
From our Board of Commissioners and our dedicated staff, we thank you for your interest and continued support of the Teche Vermilion Freshwater District. We're improving water quality for you and for future generations.